Pisces, your life right now is like a forest pond just before a thunderstorm. The water on its surface is like dark glass, reflecting the familiar world and creating an illusion of eternal peace. But you feel it yourself, don't you? You feel how the air has thickened and become electrified, how it presses down on your shoulders with its weight. There is no peace in this deafening silence. Instead, there is a string of anticipation stretched to its limit. All sounds of nature have fallen silent, as if life itself is holding its breath, listening to what is to come. This is that very lull when the old world you knew takes its last, deep breath. It is preparing to depart, making way for the new. And your soul, echoing this universal pause, has also frozen at the threshold, in anticipation of an inevitable end. And now, this ending has a deadline. You have only 48 hours left. It pains me to say this, but your journey in this place has concluded. It's time to leave. Understand this correctly. It is not an expulsion or a punishment for a mistake. This decision was made neither by you nor by the people around you. It was decreed from above, like an autumn leaf that detaches from its branch not because it is weak, but because its time has come. So have ordained the forces that write the great book of destinies. Your page in this chapter is written to the last period, and however much you wish to add another word, the ink has dried. It's sad, yes. But this is the order of things. The universe gently but persistently urges you out, saying, your role here has been played brilliantly. And now, curtain call. Yet, these changes didn't suddenly crash down on you like an avalanche. They've been seeping into your life like quiet whispers, echoes of the coming storm. Remember your recent dreams, fragmented, unsettling, full of doors to open and roads leading into the fog. Remember how a random phrase, dropped by a passerby, suddenly resonated in your heart with a painful pang of recognition. Or how a song on the radio, one you hadn't heard in years, would start playing precisely when you were thinking of leaving. The universe wasn't silent. It spoke to you in its own language, the language of signs, feathers on the pavement, recurring numbers on clocks. It gently prepared you, placing these little beacons along your path. These aren't just coincidences. This is the breath of what's to come, the first drops of rain on the dark glass of your quiet pond. And then this rain will pour down with a single phone call. You won't recognize the number on the screen, but your intuition, sharpened to its limit, will compel you to answer. The voice on the other end will be soft, a voice from a very distant past, or news of a place you long forbade yourself to even dream of. Understand, they won't offer you anything grand. They'll simply say, a spot has opened up here, or we're waiting for you. And in these mundane, almost colorless words, you'll suddenly hear the very rumble that shakes the earth before an earthquake. That's it. The signal. The trigger that sets the entire mechanism in motion. This isn't an invitation to negotiate or deliberate. It's a one-way ticket already punched, lying before you. The moment when the road chooses you, not the other way around. The moment you hang up, it will be as if a dam breaks within you. The very dam you spent years building from compromises, others' expectations, and your own fear. All that vague longing that resided in the back corners of your soul, that quiet voice you so diligently drowned out with daily routines, will suddenly surge forth as an overwhelming wave of truth. And it won't be a thought, not a logical conclusion. It will be an epiphany at the cellular level, in every fiber of your being. A sudden, deafening clarity that things cannot and will not be as they were before. Your entire past life will suddenly seem like an old film reel, faded, alien, scratched, and distorted. And you'll realize that all this time you weren't living, but merely enduring, waiting for something you didn't even know. This call didn't bring news, it brought you back to yourself. The road you're being called to isn't new. It's the very one you long abandoned, like letting go of a beloved but ailing hand. Do you remember why you turned away? You were held back by old pain, sharp as a nail in your soul, hindering every step. Or by someone else's should, which you adopted as your own and carried like an unbearable cross. You tried to break free, but the ground beneath your feet was shaky, and you only had enough strength to keep from completely drowning. Before, you weren't ready. You tried to run a marathon with an open wound, and each time you fell, bleeding strength. But now the wound has healed. It's become a scar that no longer aches, but merely reminds you of what was. And the road awaits. But be ready. The moment you decide to take that first step, an old, insidious whisper will rise from the very depths of your soul. This is your chief jailer, your own indecision, cloaked in the guise of common sense. It won't shout. It will gently embrace your shoulders and whisper in your ear, "Where are you going? Why? Everything here is familiar, predictable." Yes, it's a swamp, but it's warm, comforting. Out there is the unknown, a cold wind. You won't manage. This voice will remind you of every past failure, every disappointment, presenting them as proof of your weakness. It will convince you that a bird in the hand is better, even if that bird has long been dead. Don't believe it. This isn't concern. This is the fear of change, trying to keep you in a cage while its door is still open. And you will almost succumb to this whisper. You'll cast your gaze around your room, your life, and begin desperately clinging to the familiar. To the old armchair with its depressions molded to you. To the worn carpet where you know every thread. You'll suddenly begin to find a certain charm in this suffocating constancy, calling it stability. You'll want to erase that call from your memory, to convince yourself it was just a mistake, someone's cruel joke. After all, it's easier to believe a deception than to accept that your well-trodden path has suddenly ended at the edge of a precipice. This is your mind's last attempt to hide, to shield itself from the grandeur of change by pretending to be small and weak. This is the temptation of peace, the sweetest of all poisons, because it promises to free you from the pain of choice. But this poison only works on those who have forgotten the nature of their own blood. And you, Pisces, are not a creature of the shore. Your soul is woven from the mist of distant journeys and the salt of the world's ocean. You are an eternal pilgrim, for whom home is the road itself and rest is merely a brief stop between passes. To attempt to root yourself in one place is akin to damming a river. The water will become stagnant, and life within it will fade. Remember who you truly are. You are not the owner of that armchair, but a guest who has simply overstayed their welcome. Your destiny is not to build a nest, but to follow the invisible current that carries you towards new experiences, to new depths. This call is not an exile. It is a reminder of your sacred duty to yourself, to be in motion, to be water that takes any form but always remains itself. Embrace your essence. You are a conduit between worlds, and your path lies where all maps end. And then you rise. Simply, without any drama, you get up from that armchair and the creak of its old springs sounds like a farewell salute. In that very moment, you make a choice. Not with your mind, not with your heart, but with your entire being. You are not choosing a new life, no. You are choosing yourself. And fear hasn't vanished. It's still there, a pale shadow in the corner of the room, but it's no longer the master. You simply nod to it, like an old acquaintance whose power has ended, and you turn away. Ahead lies only an open door and a thick fog of the unknown beyond it. You don't know what's there, but for the first time in many years, it doesn't frighten you, it beckons. Because any path, even through a storm, is better than slow decay in a quiet backwater. The first step is taken. The curtain on the past has fallen. This step leads you to a short but difficult crossing. Before the door closes behind you forever, you must pass through 3 farewell halls of your past. The first is the realm of papers and keys. A world where you were a cog in someone else's machine. You'll need to settle debts, close accounts, shake the cold hands of those for whom you were merely a function. This is the simplest part, yet it's crucial. You burn bridges not out of anger, but to remove any temptation to return. The second hall is the realm of tear-filled eyes and strong embraces. Here live those you loved. Each face will be a mirror, reflecting either reproach or a blessing. You'll have to endure their pain without letting it become chains. And the last, quietest hall is the realm of your own echo. When all the farewells have faded, you'll be alone, and the walls will begin to whisper with the voices of your doubts. This is the final battle, not with an enemy, but with your own shadow. Cross these 3 thresholds with dignity. It's a ritual of liberation that will make you weightless. The first hall will greet you with the faceless hum of office machinery and the cold formality of handshakes. There will be no tears or lengthy speeches here. The people with whom you shared your working days will look at you through the glass of their indifference. Don't be offended by them. They are not saying goodbye to you, but to a function, a position on the organizational chart. Your departure is merely a line in a report for them. And in this lies the main lesson. Don't try to explain the motives of your soul to them. Don't seek understanding where it cannot exist. Your strength, Pisces, lies in your ability to flow. So, become water. Silently sign the papers, return the keys, nod goodbye. Your great empathy is now needed not to absorb their coldness, but to understand its nature and let it go. You are not burning bridges, you are simply shedding a borrowed uniform that never truly fit you. But the second haul will be far more difficult. Here, the air is permeated not by the scent of ozone from a printer, but by the salt of tears and the aroma of a last shared cup of tea. You'll be embraced by hands you know by heart, and eyes will look into yours whose pain you feel as your own. Their why will sound not like a question, but like a verdict to your heart. And here lies the main trap for you, Pisces. Your gift of compassion can become your curse. You'll want to soothe their pain, to stay, if only to avoid seeing those tears. Don't do it. Your task now is not to convince them, but to protect yourself. Say simply and honestly, I must leave, because otherwise I will die. Not physically, but spiritually. Give them your warmth, but do not let their sorrow become an anchor that drags you back to the depths. True love is not a chain, but a blessing for the road ahead. And when the door closes behind the last person, the most deafening silence will fall. This is the third hall. Here, there is no one but you and the walls, steeped in the memory of every mistake you've made. They will begin to speak. In the voice of your own fear, they will remind you of how you tried before and failed, how you believed and were deceived. This is the most cunning enemy, for it knows all your weak points. The strategy here is simple. Do not engage it in battle. Do not try to prove anything to these shadows. Just listen to them, as you would an old, worn-out phonograph. Then, walk to the window, open it, and tell them, thank you. Without you, I wouldn't be who I've become. You are not destroying your past, you are taking strength from it. This is the last weight you shed from your feet before taking flight. And then, as you sit on a random park bench, suspended between past and future, feeling transparent to this world, a stranger will sit beside you. Perhaps it will be an old woman feeding pigeons, or a janitor with a philosopher's eyes. They won't say a word directly to you. They'll simply, as if thinking aloud, utter a single phrase. When a tree decides to grow on a rock, it doesn't ask the stones for permission. And that phrase will strike you like lightning. You'll suddenly realize that all this time you were seeking approval from those who themselves were rooted in the earth. But your path is that of a seed that breaks through asphalt, not because it is strong, but because it possesses an unyielding will towards light. This random passerby, unknowingly, will hand you the last, missing weapon, the right to be yourself, without concern for others' ground. And while those words are still echoing in your ears, your pocket will vibrate with a message. It will be from that friend who long vanished from your radar, but never from your heart. The meeting will be brief, on a street corner, without unnecessary questions. He'll simply look at you as if he always knew this day would come, and hand you a smooth, dark river stone. I've carried this with me for years, he'll say. It's not to show you the way. It's to remind you of the current. And you will understand. When you're overwhelmed by storms of doubt and fear in foreign lands, when all maps prove false, you'll clench this cool, hard piece in your palm. It won't bring you back to memories, but to a feeling. To that innate knowledge every fish is born with. Where the water moves, there is life. This is your personal tuning fork, aligning your soul to its one true frequency, your own. And in the first hours of your journey, it will feel as though you're flying. As if all the most terrifying trials are behind you, and the road unfurls beneath your feet like a smooth canvas. You'll emerge into a sun-drenched clearing and sigh with relief. This is it. I'm home. Don't be deceived, Pisces. This isn't the final destination. This is a gift. The universe grants you this brief respite, this quiet harbor, so you can tend your wounds and, for the first time in a long while, simply breathe. It rewards you for the courage with which you close the old door. But the real test is yet to come. Everything before this was merely a farewell to the past. The true path begins here, in this clearing, when the euphoria of escape subsides and only an endless, unfamiliar forest lies ahead. Enjoy this sun. Gather your strength. You'll need it when you re-enter the shadow. But then the sun touches the edge of the earth, and warmth leaves the clearing, giving way to the cool silver of the waning moon. And it is in this hour of timelessness, in this cold light of truth, that your phone will make a soft sound. It will be a message from the past. Not a plea, not a threat, no. It will be the sweetest of temptations, an offer to return on your terms. We were wrong. Come back. Everything will be as you wished. And in these words lies the promise of peace, an end to the struggle, a return to that warm, albeit cramped, harbor. But under the light of this merciless moon, you will for the first time see not concern, but fear. Their fear. And you'll understand, they are calling you back not because they value you, but because your departure disrupted their accustomed peace. This is not a helping hand. This is the last, thinnest chain. You will silently delete that message, and the click of deletion will echo in your soul louder than a gunshot. The path back has vanished. Now, definitively. And the moment the letters vanished from the screen, the world around you lost its colors. The sunlit clearing, which seemed like a gift, became just a patch of wild grass under a cold, indifferent sky. The warmth that comforted you as an advance, granted for your courage. Now that you've burned the last bridge, the universe withdraws its hand from your shoulder. It no longer guides you, it watches to see if you will walk on your own. This is the first, most bitter sacrifice. You lose not just the past, but the illusion that someone will cushion your fall. Your freedom begins with an absolute, ringing nakedness in the face of the unknown. You are left alone with the forest, and it no longer seems mysterious, it seems hostile. This is the price of a true step. You lose not only your shackles, but also the walls that protected you from the wind. It was this very wind that brought it back, that sticky, bone-chilling fear you thought you had conquered. It returned not as an insidious whisper, but as the howl of a hungry beast in an empty forest. And this howl was within you. All your resolve, all the euphoria from taking that step, suddenly seemed like childish bravado, a foolish game. The voice of doubt no longer coaxed. It mocked, well, you're free now. What next? Where will you go, not knowing the way? You traded a familiar cage for an endless desert and called it a victory. Every tree's shadow now seemed like a reproach, and the night's silence pressed on your ears, proving your complete, absolute insignificance in this vast, indifferent world. This was the peak of despair, when you suddenly realized you hadn't fled to something, but simply from everything. And ahead lay only cold and darkness, created by your own choice. You sink to the ground, leaning your back against the rough bark of an indifferent tree. There's no strength left to walk. And where would you go? All paths have merged into a solid wall of forest, and each one is false. This is the labyrinth, Pisces. Not one with high walls, but the one within, where all landmarks are erased. It's as if you were lured here by a promise of light, only for all the stars to be extinguished, leaving you alone amidst empty scenery. You clench the cold river stone in your hand, but it no longer speaks of the current. It is silent, heavy, and dead, like your hope. Your grand escape has turned into the most pathetic of traps. You are imprisoned not by walls, but by your own lostness. This is rock bottom. The moment you look into the darkness and, for the first time, don't even see your own reflection. You are no one, going nowhere. And you stop fighting. Not because you've found a way out, but because you no longer see any meaning in moving. You simply sit and allow the night to do its work, chilling your skin, seeping into your bones. This is the very fear you've dreaded your entire life. Not death, not pain, but complete, total oblivion. The moment when the world continues to live without you, and it doesn't care. A nocturnal animal scurries past, an owl silently glides overhead, and neither notices your sorrow. And all that is left for you is to breathe. Inhale. Exhale. Not for hope, for there is none. But simply because your body still remembers how. You must remain in this emptiness until dawn. Do not sleep, do not wait. Just be. This is your final sacrifice on the altar of your new path. And the first ray of dawn, cold and sharp as a surgeon's scalpel, cut through the darkness. It brought no warmth, only revealed the hopelessness of your situation, outlining hundreds of identical trees. And this light fell upon your palm, upon that very riverstone. Yesterday it seemed dead, but now its smooth surface reflected that thin, relentless light. And you remembered. Not your friend's words, but the very sensation of the current. And suddenly you understood. Not with your mind, but with your gut. All this time you had been looking for a path. You had behaved like a traveler searching for a road on land, forgetting that you are water. And water doesn't seek paths. It seeks the low ground. It doesn't fight the forest, it flows around it, always finding its way downward, to the main river. Your strategy was born in that moment, simple and brilliant. Stop seeing trees as walls. Instead, feel the earth beneath your feet. Find the slope. Go not where you want to, but where the earth itself pulls you. You are no longer a lost wanderer. You are a stream seeking its channel. And you rise to your feet. Slowly, without a jolt, like water rising after the tide. The forest remains the same trees, the same pre-dawn gloom. But something inside you has shifted, clicked like an old lock finally opened with the right key. Your fear hasn't vanished, but it no longer howls, it walks beside you, like a loyal, albeit grim, dog that has recognized you as its master. The pain of farewells has ceased to be a wound and has transformed into ballast, preventing the current from sweeping you off your feet. And the river stone in your hand has fused with your palm, becoming part of your skeleton, your new, found essence. You have gathered all the fragments of yourself, bitterness, joy, and despair, and forged them into a single, heavy, and whole ingot. You have ceased to be a victim of this forest. You have become an integral part of it, a force that doesn't ask for permission, but simply moves towards its goal. And you walked. Not like a person choosing a path, but like water feeling for a slope. And the earth responded to you. Each step downward felt easier than the last, the forest thinned, and through the branches, the promise of open space began to break through. But when you emerged from the last shadow, you saw where this path led. Not to a blooming meadow, but to the edge of a dried ancient riverbed, a massive scar on the earth's body, strewn with sharp, fang-like stones and dead snags. Here it was, fate's final taunt. The path of water turned out to be a path of immense pain. You didn't need to search for the road, it was right before you, the only true one. But to traverse it, you would have to bleed at every step, feeling the sharp edges strip away the remnants of your old skin. And this was the final choice. Not between old and new, but between an easy death and a difficult birth. The universe didn't ask if you could. It watched to see if you had the audacity to accept this pain as a gift, as a final purification that burns away everything preventing you from becoming a river. And in that moment, from your deepest depths it rises, your last and most formidable demon. Not an insidious whisper, but the silent, animalistic cry of your self-preservation instinct. It doesn't persuade, it commands, stop. This is death. Better to return to any swamp than be torn apart here. This voice makes you feel phantom pain from stones that haven't even touched your skin yet. It shows you visions of your future, wounded, bleeding, alone. And you realize, this demon is not an enemy. It is your love for life, pushed to an extreme, transformed into a fear of life itself. And you don't fight it. You simply look it in the eyes and say, yes, I am afraid. But the life you so desperately protect was a slow death. And I choose a quick, but real one. I choose to feel. And you take the first step onto the sharp stones. And the moment that sharp edge pierces your flesh, an explosion, not a scream, erupts within you. All the energy you spent for years maintaining the dam, holding back tears, smiling through your sorrow, suddenly finds an outlet through this wound. This isn't pain. It's the pure, white fire of catharsis. It burns to ashes your entire old self, your fears, your compromises, your guilt. You feel the grievances you carried like armor turned to dust. And when the smoke clears, it's no longer the old you standing in that ashes, but what you always were beneath the layers of borrowed roles, a pure, resonant essence. The pain is gone, because there's no one left to feel it. Only the flow remains, ready to move. And the stones that were meant to tear you apart became your language. Each sharp edge now didn't wound, but communicated, about the world's hardness, its ancient fissures, the strength needed to navigate around it. You ceased to be a traveler searching for a river. You became the river itself. And in this lies the main acquisition of your departure. Your goal now is not to reach somewhere, but simply to flow relentlessly like time. Your will is not an effort, but the weight of water, which will always find its way downward. You no longer fear obstacles, because for the current, they do not exist. There is only the channel it carves for itself. You have gained not freedom from pain, but the freedom to be a force before which even rocks recede. You left, and the ocean came in your place. And this ocean returned to the cities. The streets hummed with the same feverish buzz, but for you, it transformed into the distant sound of the surf. And people, looking into your eyes, no longer saw a bottom. They came to you with their old problems, with their storms in a teacup, but the waves of their panic broke against your calm, unable to stir you. Petty grievances, bustling intrigues, others' anger, all of it sank within you without a trace, like a stone dropped into water. You stopped arguing, because your silence became more weighty than any words. You stopped proving, because your very presence shifted the balance of power. You didn't become wiser, no. You simply became commensurate with the world, and, because of that, the world ceased to seem hostile to you. And now, when you are asked who you are, answer without hesitation. Repeat it to yourself every morning, like a prayer, like the only truth. I do not walk. I flow. I do not overcome. I embrace. I do not seek a home. I am home. In this lies your new strength, your indestructible center. But do not think this is the end of the journey. Great rivers do not flow into the ocean to sleep. They do so to become part of something greater. And when you grow accustomed to your boundlessness, when the noise of the old world finally subsides, you will hear a new call. It will come not by phone, but with the first rain. It will be the whisper of the clouds, calling you back to the sky, to pour down upon a new, thirsty earth.